Galio, a Swain, a wave clear champion, less burden on execution maybe, the right way to go for Afreeca.
Last champion select, we saw Afreeca Freecs taunt Cloud9 with a hover over LeBlanc. Jensen happily punished them severely with that pick. We'll see if they do it again. Already we've got similar bans coming out from Afreeca, Urgot, and Zillion once again.
Yep, 5 for 5 so far. It's going to be all the same. Nocturne gets added to the ban list for Afreeca unless they think a different champion is more important here. And they're debating on the last one if there's going to be something changing, because keep in mind, we are on the same sides as last time. Afreeca chose red in game 1. Cloud9 chooses blue here. And let's see how much of the draft is the same. For the first 7 selections, it's identical.
Now, Afreeca Freecs' biggest surprise was going for the top lane Victor. And I think overall, that pick in isolation, we can't be too results-orientated. That pick did pretty well. It did contain, there were some nice moments for it. We'll see if they go that way, because there's obviously some more conventional stuff that could be considered here for Keen. But we'll look at the Afreeca Freecs side of the draft. The Alistar's up once again, but Tucson was found wanting a little bit. This time they're not going to leave the Xin Zhao open, and it seems like Mowgli is going to try to be a bit more proactive in the early game. Even though Spirit, pre-Predator, got a lot done, after that moment really was second to Svenskeren.
Extreme focus on the jungle difference from last game. Stealing away the Xin Zhao on top of changing junglers here for Afreeca Freecs. They will still get the power pick of Alistar. This is definitely an enabling support. With your headbutt pulverized combos, you can set up kills and survive team fights with the ultimate.
And I'm expecting similar picks now for Cloud9 to find themselves an early aggressive jungler and still the Braum from before, because I can see the support pool being pinched pretty quickly, and we might just have the run back of the same matchup there if they do finally land on this Gragas. But I think the Braum was always expected here, and we'll probably keep seeing the Braum Alistar trades. The question is, where does Cloud9 go next after that taunt Victor?
Who's in whose head is, of course, the question always here in pick and ban. LeBlanc first round, a possibility. If they don't take a mid laner here, they'll be pinched, but it's just a continuation of the mind games. And C9 are all about busting 2v2, because they're going to stick with the Braum Lucian they found so much value on in game number 1.
Early game seems to be the way the game is played here at Worlds 2018. The pace has been getting faster, and even though Uzi tried with the Lucian and could not quite succeed all the time, Sneaky wants it right away and seems to be.
Some of these hovers in Champ Select, you can tell Cloud9 feeling confident after that game. That should be a cautionary tale, though, because best of 5 is a very long road, as we've said, and now they've got a very happy ending here for the road. You know, Kai'Sa scales so well into the late game. If Afreeca Freecs can hold themselves in the early game, they have a very strong option for the late.
And I'm loving the Galio ban, because again, Galio Swain, something safe, and then a more conventional last pick for Keen is what I expected. If you actually zoom in on how they approach drafts towards the tail end of the group stage, Afreeca Freecs no longer were interested in giving counter pick to Kuro. They were focusing on Keen's matchup, both in terms of the 1v1 and how it played out in the larger picture of a champion select. Syndra banned here, trying to find just a bit more breathing room for Kuro.
And there's 2 1v1s I want to pay a lot of attention to. Keen for Afreeca versus Licorice, and Jensen for Cloud9 versus Kuro. Those matchups seem like they can go very, very well. That Rise could easily go to Keen, another high damage top laner. He's already played it at Worlds so far. He played it 4 times in the LCK Summer Split. This is certainly a champion he can keep bringing out here. The question is, though, what can Jensen blind and still have that same impact he did in game 1?
The Rise, another strong mage into Aatrox. Strong matchup in the 1v1 for Afreeca Freecs there if they decide to swap it. And we will get the answer to your question shortly. Freak Graves locked in for Svenskeren, though. Hard carry jungler here who can play so offensively, farm extremely quickly as well. And look for him to try and contest.
So many times this Worlds, I've looked at Cloud9's lock-ins and said, oh yeah, of course top lane Shen. That's how good Impact is in the pick. Wait, he's not on Cloud9 anymore. Last year, Contracts was all over the Graves at Worlds in China. This time it's Svenskeren. And they're blinding Ahri, or potentially the Ahri into Rise.
They needed it. They needed magic damage in the lineup, and they need a playmaker on Jensen to abuse his matchup into Kuro. This is the exact champion you expect when these teams line up here. So Afreeca, what do you do to neutralize Jensen's Ahri?
Ahri does put even more importance on landing your skill shot, though. LeBlanc can go in, distortion, QQ, get a decent amount of burst damage, even if you miss the chain. Ari, not so much if you miss the charm.
And let's see where the matchups go. Of course, that Ryze can easily go mid for Kuro, and Keen can keep playing this Victor Aatrox matchup. It did look good individually in the previous game. For 25 seconds still, these teams can choose where they want the champs to go. Cloud9 done with their swaps. Afreeca, we'll see if it's the totally trademark Victor Kuro or the new look for Keen.
The thing is, Kuro, in playing 21 unique picks, actually never played Ryze in the regular season of Summer. Now, it's of course an old pick. It's one you can always go to, but I think he's going to be just considering to the last moment here which matchup they want.
Definitely some strong adjustments here from Afreeca Freecs going into game number 2. They're necessary after the results of game number 1. Cloud9, though, I do see a possibility of them lacking hard CC and setup for this team composition. A lot of theirs relies on hitting these skill shots or by good positioning from an Aatrox trying to chase someone down. So there definitely is a lot of room for outplay in this matchup.
Outplay is always exciting when you get the best teams in the world here at the World Championship. The last remaining teams from North America and South Korea here at Worlds. And Korea has not missed a semifinal since 2011 when they weren't even invited. Every year has been Korean domination or at least excellence, making the final or winning the title for the last 5 years straight now. North America has not made top 4 since 2011 when there were no Koreans. And so now to win a best of 5 over Korea, for Cloud9 to make their first semifinal since 2011, that would be historic.
I do think the title of the last hope versus the only hope, definitely a fitting one that has been bestowed upon this matchup.
And yet, I think personally, Kobe, that history has never meant less than 2018, where so many memes about how League of Legends plays out both on a match-by-match level and also on a calendar level just haven't happened. SKT, TSM, not at Worlds. The Korean dominance right now in a kind of a whimpering status, 1-0 down with the potential elimination of the home region from the World Championship. Seems like there's a short pause at the start of the game here, maybe some configuration issues, but we just want to get into this one as it's such a fun matchup.
I do agree with that point, Papa Smithy. It kind of feels like in the past, when people give you the rose-tinted glasses answers of, you can follow your dreams, you can be whatever you want when you grow up, it sounded a bit hollow. And yet this year for League of Legends does ring true.
It does feel quite a bit different here this year. Now, I think we had the same issue as last week. Svenskeren spilled some of his glorious water onto his keyboard. I think he's getting a replacement. So about 2 minutes of the ETA I've been given coming into this one as we are paused before the game starts. And is this a replay? No, it's a new one.
Oh!
Or it might be the same. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's the same person in the same jersey.
Oh, we said it's so important in best of fives to adjust and be able to adapt, yet Svenskeren with the same water mistake that he has shown already at Worlds.
I've been confirmed that was a new clip. I couldn't tell. That was the exact same action from back in week 2 of the group stage.
You hate to see it.
Yeah.
Hate to see it.
Incredible.
He's picking champions with few skill shots. Maybe that's the right way to go. His eyes seem to be a little bit off today.
All right, we need to clean up the hand-to-mouth coordination here a little bit on the side of Cloud9. Get them situated before they go into a very important game number 2. As we've learned from yesterday's games, in these best of fives, easily you have to put aside the previous results and completely focus on the task at hand.
And I'm a bit put across by the fact that we do eventually have this Ryze selected for Kuro. He's already played 68 games, because of course they went to Rift Rivals, did Afreeca Freecs, they had to run the entire gauntlet. In this 69th game, it's his first game on Ryze, it's his 22nd unique champion, and yet it's one that basically is bread and butter for so many other players.
I'm so glad we're seeing these picks come out from both teams in response to what has been shown in Champion Select early. We set up this game and these coaching staffs on both sides to be ready for adaptation and be willing to pull out these picks, trusting in their players for the matchups. And this time around, in response to that Ryze, the Ari definitely...
Sorry.
Svenskeren nailed that as reliable. But the important fact here on screen, it has been resolved. And Freak, take us in.
We are into game number 2. Cloud9 up 1-0 over Afreeca Freecs. And this is a very exciting matchup. It has been a weekend of upset victories. That first game was massive. Cloud9 did not let off the gas pedal. That was straight up and to the right, nearly a straight line.
I do need to emphasize how important the jungle and the jungle pick was in the last game. Xin Zhao can initiate for Cloud9. Svenskeren started so many of their plays in the skirmishes. Graves can bring a tremendous amount of damage, doesn't play the same front line as Xin Zhao. It's much different with the smoke screen really bringing the utility with this champion.
And from there, I'm actually zoomed in on the level 1 because I felt they did a pretty poor job of tracking Svenskeren in the early game. He got off a level 2 gank on the Xin Zhao, which shows you that Afreeca were working with pretty limited information. So some way to curtail what ended up being such a high-tempo game with Spirit reacting to the proactivity of Svenskeren. And I say the word Spirit, of course, we must remember that with Mowgli in the lineup, he was able to watch game 1 with the coaching staff and should potentially have some insight into Svenskeren's path.
It's a big point, and honestly, they should have been prepared for a level 2 bottom from blue side. That, to me, has been the most common jungle start that I have seen all of Worlds, coming off of that red buff, pathing down through this side. Yet Cloud9 did find success with it. Early on, a little bit of harassment onto Kramer. You know, the advantage should go to Lucian Braum in a Kai'Sa-Alistar matchup here. They're trying to get a health advantage to push the wave.
Yeah, somewhat importantly, Alistar almost doesn't have a level 1, has to walk up and pulverize you, and good players won't let you really land that anymore, so this should be the push lead, level 2 coming in first. Both junglers leashless red buff, and we have the Xin Zhao for Mowgli going over to Krugs to get a lot of XP in this farm, as Svenskeren will be spotted by a ward going for this bot side scuttle.
There's not many junglers that will actually provoke a Xin Zhao to go for pretty defensive pathing. But Xin Zhao walked in and put a very late red ward right where you see the blue ward on the top side of the river. That was spotted by C9, and that's why they're playing bot side with the Braum pushing up the level 1 strength of the duo lane. They're able to guarantee plenty of inroads, at least onto that Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, very important to not get controlled in a double scuttle opening from a Graves. If the Graves gets control of the vision of the river, it can be very, very difficult. We mentioned the quick speed at which he can farm, can also, you know, start to take over as far as the range advantage. Right now, Mowgli walks over the C9 vision, so they should know that he is in this area of the map and invading towards the blue buff.
The first thought here of Mowgli is that his blue buff was stolen because he saw the enemy support walk up. Mowgli's actually going to get onto the blue anyway, and looks like he's going to have, with his smite up, the ability to steal this one away.
Nice by Mowgli here, yeah, taking away a pretty important camp. He's going to save the smite in case he needed something else. Level 3, double buffs.
Now look at this move from Svenskeren. He went cross-map to grab Wolves and is only now heading over to answer that blue. That's why we see Tucson hovering up here. He doesn't have any vision to place on it though, and Cloud9's pushing bottom lane is what allows you to continue on with this invade. You can see on your screen, Zazel goes up to help Svenskeren, and we'll see how much counter jungling they can actually get done.
And the question is how many camps do get taken away? Mowgli only took the 1 camp, just the blue buff, then left. Though, look at this, he has not been spotted coming into mid.
Jensen should be hovering on the bottom side of the map. He knows his jungler's on that side, but he's very far towards the top side here, very close to Mowgli, who can charge in. Kuro looking for a Rune Prison.
The Rune Prison, the flash forward, they're gonna get the knockup as well. There is no way out for Jensen, but he can certainly try. It won't matter. First blood in the mid lane for Afreeca.
And I love your call there, Kobe, because you're right. You usually tend towards the side that you have backup on. Instead, Jensen was being greedy or trying to play a mind game. But apart from game 1, where he could really exploit those mind games, this time he's exploited. First blood of Afreeca Freecs.
Revenge for Kuro here, very quickly into the game. Jensen, no movement at all. Instant flash initiation from Kuro. Jensen knows he's dead after that, and that is going to be a huge push of the minions as well to allow for some extra CS and a recall for Kuro. Now, all that being said, offensively blown summoner spells are just as punishable as defensively ones.
And meanwhile, the bot lane can be punished as well. Ignite is up there, and Tucson has to jump away with the flash. And a good health bar damage there. C9 holds on to most of their summoners.
Well, that was some high-octane stuff, but this time the gank doesn't come off. We've been ignoring topside. No buy yet. Keen wants to stay in lane for the 1150 gold for that first buy onto the Hex Core upgrade, but this time Afreeca Freecs sticking the landing. They're happy for this to be a slower-paced game. Only a single kill in the first 5 minutes.
And that's so big for the mid lane here, because now Afreeca Freecs have 2 solo lanes that are winning. Despite the loss in game number 1, Afreeca Freecs matchup of the Victor into Aatrox is a successful 1v1 in isolation. Bottom side has been pushing for Cloud9 and has found success, but now we're seeing jungle attention down there to try and turn this story around.
Who's coming in behind them? No, C9 does have both of their flashes available, plus the summoner heal, but 3v2 can be difficult, and that's Briar's Bloom, but that was Rise hitting it anyway, so it actually now ensures that no one's waiting behind there.
Oh, they're on a ward.
Yeah, the Kaisa can walk to the brush and shoot a W to stop the recalls, and instead, C9 just wait. Yes, they are still hatching this ward, though, and Afreeca gonna stay. They're gonna wait and try to find this 3v2 kill. Some of that CS is being bled out as Sneaky had to give up a couple CS waiting, but this wave should still push to C9. They don't have to play too far up here. And Fuchsia might see it as a window with that Q down for Zeyzal. But still no pressure just yet. C9 actually gonna walk up to shove it out.
He's gonna stick for that cannon.
Yeah,
as soon as he goes for the shot on the cannon, that might be it.
And he's gonna find his stun, but Zeyzal can jump back to his teammate, and he's gonna do that right here. The shield is forward. Now where's the knock gonna come for? He's gonna deal some damage, and with the trade back, and Mowgli has to flash away and get healed out. C9 only lost a single summoner.
All of that time for Mowgli spent on the bottom side waiting while Svenskeren farmed away on Graves, only to blow his flash. Now Svenskeren, this Graves, should go very, very offensive invade with this level advantage.
And Kobe, you see how tricky it is to brawl and skirmish with Lucian Braum as a 2v2. The Guardian pressed the attack, gave both the defense and offensive capability to try to win that one, and honestly they did. They forced a defensive summoner away. Svenskeren doesn't find a camp or a Xinjiao to contest, but does get a nice deep ward onto this wolf camp.
One thing you mentioned a while ago was offensively blown summoners being punishable as Kuro on the rise. The problem for C9, of course, is he has cleanse, so even if Jensen lands a charm flash, he just cleanses, EWs the Graves, and walks away. The gank pressure on mid feels so low from C9 compared to last game.
Yeah, and that cooldown on cleanse is almost back up. Very, very short one, so he'll feel pretty confident, even though Jensen, now on level 6 on Ahri, is the possible all-in.
And Jensen did go for Ignite as a summoner. Doesn't go for Cleanse against Ryze, Xinjiao, and all that pressure. Usually you see Catalyst skipped over, so it's probably going to be a pretty squishy Ryze until much later when the Seraphs is evolved. So there will be windows with Graves and Ahri having insane burst potential, and even Graves from downtown with the ultimate. So that Ryze will have to continue to be on the ball, and the only defensive vision he has is control wards top side and the single spotting blue ward on the bottom side.
And overall, we have a very different game from game one. Afreeca Freecs on a 600 gold lead, despite this Drake going over to Svenskeren right now. The top lane feels much more normal. The mid lane actually advantaged for Kuro, when just last game, it was the biggest CSD at 15 of the entire tournament, regardless of matchup. So that was a huge 180 now this time with first blood and a farm lead for Kuro. Overall, this is Afreeca playing the game they want to. Much slower, less kills, more control.
Yep, they have a small gold lead here, still left over from the first blood bonus, despite the CS lead in bottom lane for Sneaky and Zeyzal. Those two have definitely performed admirably, absorbing pressure as well. Svenskeren does not get any autos off onto Mowgli. He did just finish up that Scuttle Crab for them, though, so secures the vision.
Yeah, still playing for vision is Cloud9 there. Is 20 gold earned for a trinket, and Svenskeren waiting to see if he has a way into this bottom lane. Keep in mind, it is a flashless Alistar for several minutes now. And on top of a control ward, he'll help Jensen go for this blue buff, and you can see Mowgli just walking away. They know that C9, despite giving up that kill, have actually gotten pressure back into the mid side. And with Zeyzal roaming up as well, the bot lane having pressure, despite the Mowgli gank. C9 having a couple of winning lanes, but now Licorice being chased on by Keenan. Health bar is very, very low. It's a very quick revive. This could be the solo kill, and indeed it will. Keen, the best top laner at Worlds, coming in, finds it.
Trust in the process here on the Victor pick. They're liking this one just like Licorice has his pocket pick, the pocket pick Victor. It's doing its job, and with the Kleptomancy gold and now the solo kill, Keen is threatening to run away with this lane.
All right, Afreeca Freecs immediately send Mowgli up here to clear out some vision. That is going to make Licorice have to play even more cautiously. Now, he didn't blow his flash in that kill because he knew he had already been outplayed. Keen with the extra speed boost there off of the Q, an easy follow to be able to secure that one.
So wait to see if Keen can be one of those big leverage points that Afreeca can use to win this game. Still only a 700 gold difference within arm's reach for both squads, as we keep waiting for the next play from Afreeca as Ryze can roam down, almost in roam warp range, but gonna walk back to mid.
Yeah, big miss pulverized there from Tucson in lane. That sometimes happens when you hit WQ too quickly and you're not in range for the W to go off. A lot of older players were very used to having to hit those two keys in quick succession. to be able to pull off the combo. Top side, though, this is going to be more.
Yeah, 2v1 combo here as Licorice is going to try to get away, but Keen gets out from the slow, the flashing forward. They can knock down Licorice despite him blowing that cooldown, and indeed they're going to have it. Keen certainly has the spells and not blowing a single summoner. Licorice's flash away does not work.
That's why they had Mowgli clear out the vision previously. Immediately he returns, and now it is Afreeca Freecs with the early game lead.
And also that means the Rift Herald will be pretty open to them now that top lane has died twice. We'll be playing even more defensively. Bot side of the map with the earlier power spikes from C9 has been vacated. That's why the first Drake went the way of C9. In the mid lane.
First big play in the mid lane now. The ult's going to come forward. No Charm Ignite is in there, but the shield for Kuro. He's going to get it! What a play for Kuro. Svenskeren gets the trade from downtown.
Kuro's first gets his revenge again, though, in the 1v1. We mentioned in Champ Select the difference here. So important for Ahri to land the charm. Without that one, not enough damage to finish it. In the end, Svenskeren comes to cut his celebration short with the ultimate on Graves, though. It's still front of the map for Afreeca Freecs.
And it's definitely a confidence play. Speaking of confidence, misses the Pulverize.
The double knockup for Zeyzal builds a lot of space, but that Braum is out of mana, so a stun towards a very tanky Alice doesn't mean a whole lot, but Sneaky might want to walk forward. 3v3 is both junglers show, and a quick ceasefire down to the bottom lane.
This game's ratcheting up a little bit quicker now after a slow early pace. Seeing Licorice push up, he knows Victor was in the mid lane, but suddenly we're going for blow after it was pretty one-sided for Afreeca.
Also should mention, since we didn't talk about it earlier, the Glacial Augment for Jensen. This rune allows the extra slow you see there on your screen off of the Twin Shadows activation. As soon as the ghost hits, it's going to leave behind that long ice trail, which will give more slow, allowing him an easier time of hitting those important skill shots.
It also allows you to lane with incomplete information a bit safer because you can use it off cooldown to spot the enemy that is closest to you. When we had GP10 items in the mid lane, there was that same Twin Shadows effect. Now you have to itemize fully into it, but the payoff with the Glacial Augment is big. And speaking of payoffs, Kuran Tucson lying wait.
And he gets just barely over the wall. I think the ulti was burned for part of that one. I'm not quite sure, but either way, staying alive now. Ignite onto Kramer. They've got to kite away as Mowgli shows up as Svenskeren in the turret. This could be a 3v2, but reinforcements for Afreeca not too far away. Kramer low, has to heal through the ultimate, going to stay alive. Now Rin Prison is going to catch out Jensen. He's going to try to get away with this one, but a flash Pulverize might just catch another mid lane kill, and Jensen dropped for the third time.
In the bot lane, though, they're going to continue the push. Nice kill, but they'll lose objectives for this.
Well, first turret bottom lane, but Mowgli able to walk away pretty cleanly. That's some gold back into C9's pocket, but look at this. Keen still answering up on the top side. He'll knock down Licorice. Turns out this is a taste he would like, as the health bar is low, and the second solo kill of the top lane for Keen.
Yeah, they decided to go right back into the Aatrox versus Victor matchup, and this time around, Keen actually has time to make it work.
Credit to Afreeca for separating the game loss from the strategy fail. The game one was lost, but not due to the Victor. The Victor pick was doing fine in lane. This time with a lot more pressure around the map, no 50 CS mid lane lead. The Victor's styling onto Licorice, a sobering moment for a top laner who has had so much success in this calendar year.
Cloud9 getting a bit too full of themselves after the game one dominating victory. This time around, both solo lanes, 0 and 3. What will Afreeca Freecs be able to do with it, though? Because the gold itself is close due to the bottom lane advantage. Sneaky and Zeyzal, giant CS advantage, and have taken the first turret bonus gold.
It means this game is only 500 apart, with the Cloud Drake maybe edging that one a little bit closer.
Two levels to lead for Keen here as Licorice just has to spot. He doesn't have a control ward. He doesn't have any defensive pressure at all. And we're seeing a movement in the map. Together, Kuro and Mowgli with their successes actually find bot side control now that the duo lane has gone top.
That's pretty big for Afreeca now, picking up this Infernal Drake. That's where their power lies, but you can see both of these weak lanes being shoved away from farm. Licorice not allowed to touch bot lane, but neither is Kramer allowed to touch top. And Svenskeren got himself a Rift Herald, so top lane tier 2 could even be under fire here. And the game remains very, very close as C9 gets their solo gold onto Sneaky once the wave is gone. And we'll see what comes in next.
Sneaky definitely the hope here for Cloud9. Double AP solo laners for Afreeca Freecs, though, continue to push. Keen with his Sheen, finishing off that turret very easily and pushing in further onto Licorice. 3 levels is absolutely insane. Each individual level generally even more than 500 gold worth of value in just stats, not to mention the skill ups that you get. So it is a tremendous advantage.
And it's one of those things where C9 want to downplay where they're weak and accentuate where they're strong, and that's Svenskeren grouping with the duo lane. I actually thought they might consider putting the Rift Herald top, getting the inner turret, and then looking for a Baron play. They have very strong Baron damage with Lucian, Svenskeren on the Graves. But for now, they're going to continue the top side control, but conserve the Rift Herald, hoping to get the mid lane turret from.
49 CSD at 15. Yeah, that is 2.5 times as good as it was in the first game. He has been allowed to flourish up there, and flourish he has.
And this is after they already got a look at it. In game number 1, he was up 19 CS. Licorice said it's just fine. Here, teleport top, though. They're looking to make a team play.
Here's the big play up towards Kramer. The rest of the squad is Licorice shows up. Kuro's right in front of him, though, and the chase might be forward. What can Cloud9 find? A big pulverize. Look at the bot side. Keen, he's almost shut down, but he gets the shield, and Svenskeren cannot kill him off, and that is absolutely huge. Finally a trade, but it's still Afreeca winning. It's 2 for 1 to them, and they're chasing for a little bit more. Can they get that next kill? Will they find the next pickup? The flash in, almost in range. One more spell will do him in. 3-1, Afreeca win the fight.
The tables have turned. Afreeca Freecs are running this game. 16 minutes, 20 seconds into it, and they rout Cloud9.
And that's such a big moment for them. Yes, Keen goes down to the red smite from the Graves, but that's the only win from the side of C9. Afreeca going to break the mid lane turret. They're going to finally bring parity to the amount of turrets taken, and now the gold lead is still not massive, but every time we see these extended skirmishes, they go the way of Afreeca.
All right, let's take another look. Cloud9 set it up. Teleport comes in from Licorice. Everyone drilling in through the tri-brush, and actually the Twin Shadows, very good use there from Jensen. Svenskeren not able to finish him off, though, as you said, until the red burn does tick down.
And this Ace of Predator replays really fought on 2 fronts. On the top side, the double pulverize coming through from the Alistar buys a lot more time for Kramer, who largely comes out of full health in this fight. Kuro wants to get some answering kills. He's got some vengeance after game 1. That's going to be cathartic for him. He takes down Licorice, and now C9 are starting to put down some control wards. They know they're really feeling pressure to get a pick and also to get some value out of this Rift Herald.
Absolutely huge performances from the solo laners of Afreeca Freecs. Keen, we've been watching him bash top lane the whole time, and Kuro on this rise, the first of the split for him. Now looking to solo kill at Jensen. Look at the damage he's got, and a little bit more is all he needs. Can't quite get in range, but look at the power he has with only Merc threats for defense. A lot of damage for him.
It almost feels like every solo lane assignment goes the way of Afreeca Freecs, and that is a real big problem for C9. Yes, they have a strong duo lane, but leveraging the power when the side lanes are in such a rough spot is going to be difficult for C9.
Still, Cloud9 continue to fight. Rift Herald activation in the mid lane does get them another turret, some more territory to work with. That's all of the outers now taken down. The problem for them is that they don't have the capabilities to fight their way in for the deep vision. They have to be very careful about setting those wards up.
Coming down throughout this bottom river, is trying to set up Kramer for success to get him that farm, to get him a lot of solo XP up to level 10. Has actually managed to tie back with Sneaky, and look at Licorice once again. Forced off the turret, forced off the wave, and that turret's almost certainly a better pickup than this red buff. That C9 grabbing the top side of the map. So Afreeca Freecs leveraging more of a lead, 2,500 up, is sizable at 19 minutes here.
Definitely splitting the map. We'll see if C9 can get any Baron control from this. Of course, the Baron not spawning for the minutes. Top lane.
They're going to find a stun to Kuro. The cleanse not enough. They burst him down. And Victor's alone versus 3. They certainly have the damage. Even Zazel survived.
That's not the Cloud9 member you were looking for, Kuro. Sneaky is the strong one, and they do not hesitate. Kill for Cloud9, tower for Cloud9, and they strike back.
Really big tempo moment with the Baron about to spawn means the top side is completely vacant for the side of Afreeca. You need some way to fight around. C9 find their moment. Kuro feels so comfortable walking up. He's level 13 with his Ceres transform, and yet he dies almost instantly.
Yeah, let's go over the previous actions of Kuro. He just flash forward, killed off Licorice. Then he chases Jensen out of his own lane, 1v1. However, 3 members of Cloud9 lying and waiting for that counterattack do pull off some sort of rightening for this game.
It makes the game closer to tied, only 300 gold apart, and a huge shout out to Zazel's aim on that ultimate. Got 2 knockups out of that press, and that, I think, helped really allow that dive on Victor. And now Mowgli pulled back in. They might have the damage, jumps to the blue buff. The ult, blue buff, blue! Even the map is is on Cloud9's side.
C9 Golem with the last hit onto Mowgli. It feels like in the last 30 seconds only, things starting to turn around. But again, do not forget how strong these solo laners for Afreeca Freecs are. Despite Kuro going down, huge advantage there, and now he's got a Banshee's Veil to protect him from the charm.
But Kobe, don't forget how strong Sven Skaren is. He's picked up the lion's share, in fact, all of the kills that Cloud9 have. Black Cleaver, Warrior, and a Hex Drinker. Wherever he goes, I think you should cower in fear if you're the team of Afreeca Freecs.
All right, you sold me, Papa Smithy. I love me a jungler with all the kills. Sven Skaren here on Graves is the correct champion to do it as well. DPS output in the form of AD for C9 will be their story this game.
Yeah, not more than yesterday. We saw Ning have a huge game on the Kindred. Building Infinity Edge on that one. Probably not the build for Sven Skaren here, but we have absolutely seen hard to carry jungle performances before. As the blue gets handed off over to Jensen, he's going to make his way over. We have a tied game, but though the gold is the same, keep in mind Afreeca do have an in-combat Drake with the Infernal. Cloud9s do not do much to help you kill other enemy champions, and we are in a very close one here.
Now that we are closing in on this mid-game, we get to start setting up these fights and how they can come about from so many different angles. Afreeca Freecs do have the Realm Warp as well as the Killer Instinct from Kai'Sa to allow them to follow up and start plays across the map if Cloud9 don't have the vision set up. Meanwhile, for Cloud9, we mentioned the outplay possible in all of these champions and how difficult it is to land those CC combinations.
Now, it is difficult if you think of it as a very standard pick comp. Okay, the Charm missed, okay, the Braum Q missed, but remember, because it's Glacial Augment Ari, you're transferring late game power, because Glacial Augment's utility keystone in for extra catch. Now the Twin Shadows is that big slowing field. Now also, there's other ways like the GLP to find the catch, and they have insane burst with how strong Sven Skaren is to profit off the pick that Zeyzal and Jensen will be tasked to provide.
Exactly. In addition, the area that Braum can control, this is one of the biggest strengths of the champion. YC9 have picked it yet again. Very big zone control for possible team fights. And that's what they will try and use to make it easier to land their damage. Here we go, though. Most of the top control given over to Cloud9. They're putting wards around Baron, while we see Afreeca Freecs investing in their split push on the bottom side. They're really trying to get a lot of value out of that Victor into Aatrox advantage that they still have.
Look at that vision. Afreeca cannot see anywhere around Baron. There's a blue trigger used. Doesn't even spot a champion. Only knows that they're not at Baron. Whoever else they might be, but C9 does show themselves now as they wait for the mid lane, but 5 strong. They could go for some kind of flash engage into somebody. C9 in the wing. Did they know that Aatrox is not here, so Alistar goes in, finds a bit of damage, but not a whole lot. The jump back for Sven Skaren might have been enough. And here comes Teleport. C9 want the fight. A double knockup. Gonna look for Keen here into this one. Mowgli gonna get brought out by the Realm Warp. A nice ult there by Kuro. But Tucson, he's burning down. That's one kill picked up. And it's time for Keen to flash away. But Licorice is still on the chase. Burning down. He's gonna be revived. Watch out. Jensen has to ult right back out. This will be a disengage now. 1-for-0. Cloud9 win that fight slightly.
So important that Tucson failed the headbutt pulverized because they got no value out of the Alistar engage. He just takes free damage as the teleport is completing. So the 5v4 ended up being a lot more even.
And a flash forward caught Mowgli, but he's turning back on. The stun's gonna mean he cannot find Jensen, and it's now a second kill with a jungler dead. This could be a lot. Kuro gonna jump the wall, and he's flashless, and it's gonna be sneaky. Jumping over, he'll find the stun. He's got reinforcements. 3 straight kills for Cloud9.
And with those kills, that is the jungler and the mid laner. Cloud9 still have a control ward on Baron. They still have the damage to force it, and here they go.
The discipline from Afreeca isn't working for them. The catching the pick factory is so important. Baron has started. Aatrox not here.
Yeah, Licorice was bottom lane, trying to get the bottom lane pushing, but he's joining the fight now. Here they go. Tucson is heading in.
Very few tools to steal. They're going to charm Alistar, turn for the kill. Tucson has to flash away, but here comes Aatrox. Headbutt pulverized to buy space.
He's dead.
The knockdown Licorice, 1 kill in, but there should still be no smite. This should not be a miss. And the Baron's picked up. Now for the 4v3 team fight. Kramer gets slow. They're all slowed. Look at the explosions. The kills just keep coming through. And Keen stands no chance. A delayed ace for Cloud9.
The Twin Shadows freeze the entire river over, and Afreeca Freecs cannot escape. C9 get the Baron, and they get the kills Only 10 seconds into the Baron, it's almost a 3,000 gold Baron power play.
They go all the way to the start of it, guys, and with Tucson failing headbutt pulverized, the 5v4 means nothing. The turn is super powerful, and from there, the extended clip here will show you that C9's amount of catch and sheer burst is what separates them from Afreeca.
My goodness, the continued layers of engagement there as well from Cloud9 coming out. This is a jump forward at the second time where they're able to go in on Tucson. He does pull back and they finish off Licorice, but here is the Baron smite and then turn.
Watch all the slowing fields you'll see as this clip goes on along the ground. 3 in a line, look like mini rumble ults in some way. And those slowing fields hit everyone. Even the Victor at the end is standing on top of one. Svenskaren's feeling pumped. NA should be as well.
Hextech GLP did work in that fight. Smiles and laughter, and they're back on the map pushing with a 5,000 gold lead. A wave clear. It's not too bad from Victor, but these are buffed up minions with Baron. They take half damage and they are still pushing forward. And this is going to be inhibitor turret cracked. And when the turret falls, most teams know to give up the pressure. If you won't play with a turret, you shouldn't play without defenses in front of you. A little bit of wave clear, but 2 buffed up cannons is all Cloud9 needs. They will crack the inhibitor line, you have to assume. There's not much of a defense for Afreeca here, but they are still making Cloud9 work for it. Slowing down every single second of that Baron buff as long as they can. They've weathered through the first half of it. Charm's gonna land on an Alistar, ulti across the back line. And still the health bar is going down. The jump forward for Jensen, looking for that first kill. Tucson is low, he's slowed. He finds himself a knockout, but it's not gonna be enough. NC9 can now signal to go for the Nexus, to go for the 2-0 start to the series.
They've got Graves, they've got so much turret damage, they're gonna keep on this.
And here they go, as the cage comes down, looking at that very first turret in front of the Nexus. 5v4, when does Afreeca stop them? Because C9 are not slowing down. In comes Mowgli, but not for much damage. And it's gonna be the reset. C9 gonna back off of this one now with the inhibitor gone and one Nexus turret falling as well. Zay's gotta watch out. He could be jumped on. He's not gonna be.
Freaks threatening the trail, but look at that gold ticker in the top right corner. 5,500 Baron power play for Cloud9. An Infernal Drake on the way out. Inhibitor already destroyed. That was incredible.
Should be the game-defining moment, guys. This should be C9 finding a way to cement what now feels like the first meaningful lead of the game. As this clip goes on, the culling does so much damage to Kramer that even though we always talk about the scaling of Kai'Sa, the value of the Kai'Sa has been close to nil.
Look how Jensen is playing this Ahri as well. They go in, him plus Svenskeren, a huge chunk. Then he goes in with the second engagement, GLP used for the slow zone. Kuro does get himself out with the Realm Warp.
Remember, that is another tool that they can now no longer use to defend themselves. And look at that game, it took so long, but it was actually Cloud9 finding the better decision-making in the late game. This is a team that back in the NALCS had good early games but could not shot call in the end. They have solved this issue, gotten better and better throughout Worlds.
This is also a team, this is also a franchise that invested the most into young talent as well as innovation. Reaper has never been scared to put out a new champion, to put out new item combinations, to put out a new way to play the game, and Cloud9 are flourishing off the back of both of those investments.
But people love to talk about the rookies. I want to talk about one of the old dogs, Svenskeren, who of course came to group stage on SK, into TSM, never got out of groups. Here in a quarterfinal game 2, he's rocking it 8-1-3 onto the Graves, and he is the one that has been the pivot point for game number 2.
This year has been the glorious return of Svenskeren to the world stage, and now Cloud9 looking to finish game number 2.
It could be the glorious entrance of North America into the semifinals for the first time in 7 years. They've got work to do. Mowgli certainly has nowhere to go. A statue that has now been fallen. A monument to South Korea may be dropping in the quarterfinals for the first time ever as C9 look to push in. There's work to do, but they've got minions flooding into the base. Looking at a 2-0 start to the series, waiting as bot lane pushes in, but without Baron buff, Victor can wave clear. C9, 5v4, a little bit of super minions, now pushing in towards the Nexus turrets, looking at the big play, the knockups in the back line, the dive in for every kill they can find. Jensen gets one, and the revive onto the Aatrox. 5v3, the turrets are falling, and they can turn simply to the base, and they're doing it here. The backline dive for Kramer, but it is not enough. And Cloud9, 2-0 in the series.
Polite applause comes through from the Busan fans. They can appreciate good League of Legends. Korea usually provides that, but it's been the international opposition who have been on point at Worlds 2018. This game was closer for a lot longer, but in the clutch, the smart control of the top red side jungle into the picks that the Ahri and friends provided was shut down by the legendary Graves, and from there, a comfortable victory for C9.
The year of the upstarts. The rest of the world has had enough of being held down by Korea in the World Championships. Championship after championship, it has gone the same story.
Yeah.
But not today.
2018 does seem different, but we have seen crazy comebacks. We'll wait for that. Maybe it'll happen. For more insight on how Cloud9 is one win away from a semifinal spot, let's hear from our analysts.
Thank you very much, Freak. 2-0 now in the series for Cloud9. This one much tougher for Cloud9 to secure than the first one around, and a lot of it off of the early game this time around for Afreeca, whereas C9 was off to the races quick on the first one. Before we dive into the game, I do want to re-hit Champ Select again because there's some interesting adjustments made by both teams.
You're going to let talk first, Ash.
Do you want to talk first,
I do want to get in there early.
Okay, get in there early.
Right. I want to talk about this blind pick Ahri because I wasn't a fan.
That's what you told
That's what I'm going to start with. I want to start with, even though they won, I was not a fan of the blind pick Ahri, all right?
Okay.
And I do feel, I'm just going to say it because I feel that with the champion pool that Jensen has at his disposal, there were a number of options that he could have gone for. Cassio, Azir, all great picks as an alternative. However, I liked the fact that C9 got themselves a strong 2v2 again. They invested heavily into the Lucian and Braum, and I feel like it worked out nicely for them.
I like the way that they won the game.
They did win the game.
I like the way they played more than everything else because in a lot of ways I thought this was an outdraft by Afreeca Freecs. I was surprised that they got the Victor into Aatrox's matchup because even in what was a huge snowball, I thought the Victor was doing well. Boy, by the way, called this 6 months ago. He's played a lot of top lane Victor. We've been talking to him. Like, we're both confident you can't blind pick Aatrox into this pick, and I think Licorice showed it this game. But then the way in which Cloud9 banded together, got the shutdown gold, used Sneaky and Svenskaren's advantages, and then really out-macroed Afreeca Freecs makes me so much more confident in this win than in the game one win.
Yeah, here's your evidence, though, around the Victor pick.
Yeah, and it's just so dominant, again, your ability to sidestep and maneuver around Aatrox's abilities because you have basically a slow or perma-slow, and you just keep hitting them with the Q, keep walking past them with the shield, and you're able to walk Aatrox down in pretty much every single matchup, every single trade, and even on the tower dive. So Keen was slick. Ultimately, though, back to the roadmap point of view, the fact that Cloud9, they understand it's all about the early game. Wow. Screw the late game. And even on that Baron call, which was my favorite fact, that was the perfect Baron call for Cloud9 to make. They knew that if that game went late, they were going to lose anyway. It looked super messy, but that was the only available option, and they have the boldness to make the call.
But before that, the proactiveness from Cloud9 is what impressed me so much, was because if they weren't actually trying to force plays, then they were just going to get outscaled, and they probably were going to lose this game. And while this play on paper didn't work out in favor of Cloud9, the fact that they were willing to try just goes to show how eager this team is to not give up and recognize that our comp will get outscaled and we need to make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, the Ahri was super close to one-shotting the Victor in that fight. Even so, you thought maybe Kuro's Rise was going to be able to take over. One thing we have to mention is the Lucian Braum was massively far ahead. That Kai'Sa never made it off the ground, and this right here was the turning point of the game.
Yeah, because you're getting two massive shutdowns now on the Svenskaren, and even though you're the Svenskaren, and even though your Ahri was pretty much non-relevant because she got shut down in the lane phase, all she has to do is play utility. You had the Spooky Ghost build into the GLP. All she needs to do is hit the slows, hit the stun, and because Graves got the shutdown, you have the burst damage that you can immediately assassinate anyone. So at that point, Sven was like, Braum, Ahri, come with me. We're going to go hunting for the LCK hope.
But even with all that aggression, the teams were essentially going tit for tat, and we very much had strong points for both squads, different champions, different lanes, and it was that C9 Baron call that you're talking about, which really broke the game open for them.
And this is one of, people will look at this and they'll say, you know, where are your wards behind the pit? Why didn't they make the picks? But you have to make this call, otherwise you're just going to lose the game in 7 minutes.
Yeah, they have a finite amount of time before the Victor respawns and runs it in. They had to actually use Aatrox to die in zone. They had to rush the Baron, and then the GLP turn with the Glacial Augment, the 50% slow lines on all three people, allowed them to actually mop the floor after the fight. So utilizing every tool they had in the toolkit with that Baron play.
So about that Ahri pick.
Did you see
like
the
I'm
triple
feeling
50%
right
slow?
there.
Just because it worked out does not justify the Ahri.
In defense of Vedius, I do agree with him. I think instead of banning the Lissandra, you could have banned the Victor, so that way your Aatrox matchup would have been much stronger.
He died
And then
a lot.
And then you also guarantee that you have at least 2 primary mid laners open, the Ryze and the Lissandra, and you get one or the other.
Now, I want to get to the 3rd game in the series, and so before we do that, we have to recognize once again our MasterCard player of the game in Svenskeren on that Graves. Given a hyper carry champion, this guy popped off when it comes to that KDA here.
This has become a Svenskeren special. Almost no one is playing Graves here at the World Championship. It's a early game jungler against the Xin that can survive, and it's what C9 actually pulled out in the playoffs when they needed wins most, and also here when the wins are pretty important.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. Going into game 3, Afreeca's got to put 3 together. Cloud9 just needs to grab 1. With side choice, Afreeca has elected to stay on red. So they are not swapping over to blue. They're willing to play this series out, it appears, from there. Spirit is coming back in. So swapping the junglers on losses, it appears. What are our thoughts here?
So I think that the thing about Spirit is that he's much more willing to skirmish and fight in terms of the early game. I know we did see the Xin Zhao coming out from Mowgli, but in terms of early pressure, I feel like we saw a lot more from Spirit in game 1 that we really did see from Mowgli outside of that gank in the middle lane. So I think the intent is to bring someone in who can match the early playmaking that C9 have shown to bring about in these games. And we talked about it with EDG, we talked about it with Invictus Gaming, and we talk about these teams that have the ability to fight and rely on their individual mechanics. And I think that right now in this series, C9 is just demonstrating that their skirmishing and just their individual playmaking is that much stronger than Afreeca's is so far.
But the issue that I have is that I agree. Afreeca should do that, but they keep drafting for late game, and then they keep trying to fight anyway. They are fighting outside their power windows, and that's why I see game number 1, I now see game number 2, and I'm like, this is not a comp problem, this is a brain problem right now. Like, just sit back, just relax.
Jack, do you have any fear, though, around C9 leaving the Victor up for a 3rd game in a row because they've beaten it twice?
Yeah, and the bans that they've had, Tom Kent, Chirelia, Akali, you don't want to let those through.
Right.
I think you could maybe force them to pick a first rotation because you have phase 2 bans available, or you just let the Aatrox through. Like, even though they're first picking the Aatrox, Licorice was the first to actually have good counter picks against it. I don't actually know if it's going to be the Victor. He only has 1 game on it in solo queue.
Right, but he could go back to the Hecarim, right?
But he could go back to a lot of different picks. I think that should be the tweak.
All right, well, C9 are knocking on the door of another upset. See if they can close out the series versus Afreeca after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Give me a C9 ticket.
Who's in
one now?
Do we have some napkins, maybe?
Oh, no, not again.
Oh, my God, Dennis.
It's a boss.
It's a minor spill.
It's not as big as last time.
Oh, no.
Yikes.
Gonna have to cost this one.
What do you have to say,
Strategic spill again?
That's a grief.
Girl looking for a Rune Prison.
The Rune Prison to flash forward. They're going to get the knockup as well. There is no way out for Jensen, but he can certainly try. Licorice being chased on by Keenan. Health bar is very, very low. It's a very quick revive. This could be the solo kill, and indeed it will.
Go. I have bought him. Is that Victor tag. Save me.
Nice.
Mowgli pulled back in. They might have the damage jumps to the blue buff. The ult, there's no blue! Even the map is on Cloud9's side. Now for the 4v3 team fight. Kramer gets slow. They're all slowed. Look at the explosions, the kills. Just keep coming through. And Keen stands no chance. 5v3. The turrets are falling and they can turn simply to the base. And they're doing it here. The backline died for Kramer, but it is not enough. And Cloud9 2-0 in the series.